Hello, welcome. Hello, I am Valgan. I do Udon tutorial videos and Udon asset development for the VRC platform. I do standalone Unity dev work, which is always fun, and honestly kind of what I do for my main job. And today, we will be continuing work on our inventory system. So right now, I've kind of mocked up some of the design here on the left. Really kind of like a few takes that I've seen of a more modern, like a how do I put this? A cleaner, more 2020s version of like the original Wii, not the Wii U, but like that kind of style, somewhere in between the Wii and the Nintendo Switch. What I'm currently going for right now is the inventory items will show up as like cards. Like you'd be looking at like a deck of cards, which would work good for games where you are playing with a deck of cards, but also primarily it just makes it readable. So instead of doing the channel shaped thing from the Wii, where it'd be like this, I guess, or something like that. This works good if the image that you have is simple and the text can go over it. But I'm not convinced that works good in a generalized situation. When you start getting a bunch of stuff in here, it starts to feel a little bit weirder. So that's why I'm going for the slightly more compact, but like deck of cards appearance for it. So actually, if we just go into play mode here, if Unity lets me. There we go. See, I can click on all these, I can scroll through them, but this is all the dummy data that's just kind of temporarily here. If I click this button, it puts an item in my inventory and immediately spawns it. Or I can press this button, and it puts an item in here. Currently the icon for a sword is just the error sign, so that's just kind of what we're using at the moment. I'll have better icons briefly, but I can click spawn item, it gets rid of it and spawns it, and then I can toss it over there, which puts it into the inventory. Now, one thing I was noticing quite quickly is if I add a lot of things into my inventory and then add another thing into my inventory, it hitches a lot. That is because the way that this list is set up was very temporary, I need something working now kind of setup. And by that I mean, we don't add a new icon, we don't add a new button every time that we want to add something to the inventory. We destroy all of the buttons that exist and then spawn all of the ones that we need to. This got it working and will never be the version that is going to ship, but is also immediately starting to show its issues. So there's a few things we could do. One, we could go ahead and just add the ability to incrementally add and remove certain buttons rather than building the whole thing. But I think it will be a smarter long-term investment to work on a recyclable grid view. So instead of having, how many items do we have here? Like 30. Yeah, instead of having this amount of buttons, or one for every inventory item, let's say you have 400 items in your inventory. You don't want 400 buttons being spawned for that. That's going to hit your game, no matter what you're doing. So what I think we can actually get away with is a recyclable system. So we can only see at max 12 buttons here at any time, which is 2 rows or 1 row and 2 half rows. So my idea is that the moment that something is off screen, we then move it down here and instantiate it to fill in with other information. So it's a bit more running code because it's changing as the system moves and turns around, but it saves dramatically on needing to instantiate a million objects at once. Excuse me. So that's kind of going to be the project today. And once we have that, it'll be a lot easier to properly work with some of the design on this, clean it up, get a lot of the spacing working. Yeah, I think that'll be kind of our task for today. So let's actually just go ahead and make a new what would it be? UI canvas, make it world space, 1280 by 800. Was it 1260? What's the 1260? I think is what is like is 1280 by 800 a real resolution? Yeah, it is 1280. Okay, my mistake. I was thinking it was 1260. I don't know why. It's not like a GPU or something, is it? Alright. Scale it down to a usable size. And let's go toss in a background. What's a good background color? Let's just go with this one. And let's add in a... Actually, let's get rid of that. And we'll add a UI scroll view, just somewhere in here. Scroll view, there we go. Expand that out. Background set. We will not have vertical scrolling, so let's go ahead and drop that. Sorry, horizontal scrolling. Horizontal scroll bar. Just go ahead and get rid of that. Get rid of the margin on the bottom for that. And for debugging purposes, let's make this 50 wide so it's easier. Then under viewport content, this is where you would normally put something called like a grid view layout, or a grid layout, which is what I'm currently using over here. Grid layout groups aren't great, unfortunately. They're kind of hot garbage, actually. But Unity doesn't really provide much better. So if you want something nicer, you quite literally just have to do it yourself. So normally the thing would be grid layout group. You would add that, and then you would add a content size fitter, and vertical fit will be preferred size, so that it takes on the size of the things inside of your group. So let's say this is 400 by 300, and I just add a bunch of these. It automatically expands out, and you'll see we have a shorter scroll bar over here because each one makes the scroll section smaller due to the amount of things that are in it. But there's a lot of restrictions with this. So I can't make them just automatically expand out. And if I try to put spacing between it, it's spacing in total. It doesn't resize them to have that spacing between it. So I think there's a lot of things that we can do to improve this at the same time as giving ourselves the recyclable ability. So we'll just drop these two components right now. And since I want this to run at runtime, we're going to have to do it in Udon, which is going to, I think is going to do pretty well for us. So let's do scripts. UI, have a new sharp for grid list view. What should I call this? Grid list honestly feels fine. All right, so let's that open up here. Do it. Let me code. Open. Perfect. Grid list. So I've done things like this before, but I haven't done this exact system yet. So while I know most of what we're about to do, I don't know everything that we're about to do. So come along with me on this journey. Like one of those TEDx talks that are just insufferable. There's good ones, but my god, there's some really bad ones as well. There we go. Everything's ready. Alright, so we are going to need to do a few things. Let's have a... okay. So this grid list is basically going to bind to an existing list of some sort. So... I think we might be able to... This might be something we want to do a start class for, but for now we'll just do a list of I don't know, integers. So we'll just have a public int array my values, just something completely deletable in the future. So since we can't inherit from the specific components that those layout groups do or use interfaces, we're basically going to have to constantly look at how tall our what's it called? Yeah, we're basically going to constantly look at the size of everything and rescale stuff once those change. So we'll do a public vector2 size. Let's have, actually, this will be container size. We'll have a public int column count, because this one is going to arrange things in columns. So let's do 2. Sure, that's a good starting point. So we're not going to immediately do the recycling because I want to get a layout working first. So we'll do public int container child account. Yeah, okay. Container size equals oh, we need to reference this as a rect transform, so we'll just do a require component type of rect transform. Have a private rect transform rect. And let's actually, we're going to do a few things here. We're going to serialize this field, and then we're going to hide in inspector it. Not call stack, hide in inspector. So that way the value can be saved, but we don't have to look at it in the inspector. That's because I'm going to do a few things here, such as use onValidate to put in some of these tests. So rect equals transform at, we do not have as in Udon, I don't think so. Actually, I guess I don't know that. Let me check. We do not. Okay. Wait, no, that's a null. Wait, hold on. What is that? No, we do not have that. Okay. Visit binary exception. Okay, yeah. We're just going to cast it as rect transform. So now, unvalidate, since that runs in the inspector, allows us to just kind of cache this at any point. We're also going to do unenable, because we want to run a bunch of stuff when things start up, and give us the attribute execute in edit mode. Or maybe just execute always? I think execute in edit mode might be exclusively edit. I don't actually know. Okay, so we'll just make sure that a few things are working here. So we'll do container size equals rect.rect.size. Actually, yeah, we'll do that's probably our best abbreviation. Then container child count equals transform.child count. So let's go over here, content, grid list, pop that one on. And you see we've got a few things in here. We've got 2700, we got the correct size, we got the correct children. Now, let's put in a few random values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, sure, perfectly fine. Now, I'm going to need let's have a okay. So I'll have a public unity engine object. No, I think I'll just do a game object. No, actually, I'll do a unity engine object. Prefab. The reason we're gonna do that, yeah, we're gonna do that because I want to run this through code in the future. So it needs to be either a game object or a mono behavior. Well, a game object or an Udon Sharp behavior. But since those two aren't intercastable, I'll just have it stored as a object. Actually, I think I'll have to do an Udon Sharp behavior for that. Type mismatch? Yeah, I know. Bonk. Alright, column count is 2, but we're also going to need a public float row height. Just do 100. Now, the unfortunate thing about this system is y'all are going to see exactly how bad I am in math. void demo test thing. Give us the context menu test thing. That'll let us right click the component to run this so that we can run it in edit mode as well. Yeah, so how am I currently destroying all children? I remember running into an issue with this the other day. Oh, for each. Okay, well, I guess that works fine. This is gonna need a reference to. It's. Yeah, okay, it's just gonna be itself. From my values dot length, we are going to instantiate. I think for now we won't even instantiate it. We'll just do some sizing here. So int item count equals my values dot length. So now we're going to divide that by column count and multiply that by row height. Okay, so int row count equals item count divided by column count. And before we do something stupid, I should put a min of 1 on that so we never divide by 0. Then float, no, container size dot y will equal row count times row height. Container size dot x shouldn't change necessarily. But I'll send here in case container size dot x equals rect dot width. X? Wait. Yeah, that way. There we go. Though that's also going to be kind of immediately inverted, so rect dot set size. Set size print anchors. No, that's not it. Size. That does not have a. Huh, okay, so I think what we need to do is just 0, 0 x container sized y. Let's compile real quick. So what we're looking at here, there we go, is this thin gray rectangle should change size when I right click and press test thing. Nope. Destroy may not be called from edit mode. Use destroy media instead. Right, okay. Do I have a utilities class already? Because I'm going to need one. Let's see. Inventory utilities. That'll be a static one. I'll have public static void. Destroy helper. That'll be a Unity engine object. Target. And in here, we will destroy an object in two different ways. With the power of if we do not have application is running. So we're just going to put it into the compiler. So we'll do destroy target.destroy. Unity engine.object.destroy immediate target, and we'll do the exact same line but with just destroy. And now we'll do if Unity editor and compiler udon sharp is false. And in here, we'll do if yeah, okay. If application is playing is false. We'll run destroy immediate and return. Otherwise, it'll just compile as this. So this should be the only thing that's actually in this field, technically. Or that's in the udon side of this class. That way we can still run this in edit mode. We'll do inventory utilities dot destroy helper. Let's see how Udon likes that. I'm pretty sure I did that in a way that the compiler actually likes, but we'll find out. Okay, hasn't yelled at us yet. Testing. It certainly destroyed every other one. What happens if I run it again? Yeah, it just consistently destroys half of them. Which is weird, because that's the one that works in Udon. Okay, let's just do a public static void destroy all children. This transform. While target.child count is greater than 0, destroy object dot destroy target dot get child 0 dot game object. And this should be and destroy. So we'll just do transform dot destroy children. Alright, so I'm gonna hit save here, because if this goes poorly, I have to restart Unity. So let's find out here. Oh, I'm looking at the wrong thing. There we go. Alright, well that worked perfectly fine. Cool. I wonder if child count on a transform doesn't update as fast as they are destroyed inside of Udon, because I've definitely had issues doing exactly this when it's inside of Udon, which is a little annoying, but freaking not whatever. Alright, so if I go ahead and do a test thing, it doesn't resize height. Alright, where is my math being bad? Probably everywhere, but let's find out. This needs to be sealed. Possible loss of fraction. Whatever. You're afloat now. So if we're just looking at this, pressing test thing, okay, so that reports that 300, but it's not setting the height on this rect transform. Oh, size delta, that's what I need to be setting. Okay, there we go. That's working. You know, I don't think I care about the width. I'll just let it figure itself out. Float. Container height. You are now a height. A little annoying, I kind of have to get this twice. Or does it have a rect dot? Maybe set size of current anchors is the thing that I want. Vertical size will be container height. That may be exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, that's 300. Hasn't messed up the right at all. We'll do a few more values in there. This thing. Oh, there resizes. Let's do a height of 200. And okay, that runs to 800, 200. Okay, cool. So now we're going to have a test object that we're going to use for this. So we'll have a public rect transform for now, dummy item, and then we'll have a public int dummy index. So once we've set the size of the bounds of everything, we're going to need to place this item where it needs to go. So we'll get a vector2 dummy position, and let's see, our dummy index is going to divide against row count. How do I want to do that? Okay, yeah, I'll do both of those. So int float dummy height equals dummy index divided by item count. Nope, that needs to be row count. I'm sure you're a float. And dummy float dummy width is dummy index divided by column count, which is something we're just raw setting. So the total width of we don't have margins yet, so we'll calculate a float item width equals, that's going to be column count. No, it'll be rect.width divided by column count. There we go. And we'll do margins later, but those are going to be necessary. And we want to do that, we want to multiply height as well, so we have row height, row height, oh, and the multiplication thing. Dummy position equals dummy height, nope, width, dummy height. And then We'll take our dummy item dot rect or set. Local position equal dummy position. I think that's right. Though for now, I'm also going to want to disable the destroying all children because our item is going to be a child. Item field, bring you over. There, and testing. All right, well, it's up there. Let's see what happens if we put in a different index. Well, that's higher than it was before. So let's lock this inspector, make a second one here. That's locked on this item. I think first thing that we need to do is flip the height. Since 0 starts at the top and positives go down, in how we're handling our layout at least. Dummy index 2, 3, 4. Right. Okay. Why do I feel like we're not supposed to be dividing? We're supposed to be getting the remainder. I am not a vibe coder, but I often do vibes-based coding. All right. Well, let's mental through this one. So we have item width is rect width divided by column count. Item height. Wait. This isn't height. This is X and Y. Width and height are a different thing, so that's probably screwing me up. Okay, so the X position for this is the dummy index Oh man, this is the kind of math that I'm always really bad at. The moment that it's like division. Column count. So if we take our, let's say our index is 10, we divide our index by the amount of rows that we have, which is calculated up here. Let's say it's 4. That gives us the 4th row. And this needs to be item width. And this one needs to be row height. Next 0 is fine. I'm gonna make this a bit easier on myself. Dummy items, and we'll just sort a bunch of them at once. Pull void place item int index. Our dummy item equals index. For item count, nope, this will be dummy items dot length. Place item I. Row count is item counts divided by column count. Yeah, I'll grab that again down here. This will need to be cleaned up, obviously, but still figuring out how this system works. Alright, so it's at least stacking along. Let's do a column count of 3 and see how that behaves. Alright, yeah, so it's cascading, but we're getting half of the item height every time. I'm unsure as to why. Actually, it's not even exactly... Huh. 134.7778. Hmm. So dummy Y, we're currently getting the... Do I just need to be flooring this? Nope. Alright. So dummy Y is index remainder out of column count. That feels right in my head, which means that my understanding of it is wrong. Order int index. Alright. Let's get our stuff that we need up here. Item width. Let's ignore the height and width for now and just get int row index. Index divided by do I have this backwards? I don't feel like I do, but maybe I do. Int column index equals index divided by column count. Is that right? Then dummy position will be row index times item width and negative column index times item height. No, row height. Yeah, not row index, row height. Alright, so now if we run that. Ooh, okay, that's looking more like the thing. Okay. Row height 300. Test thing. Okay, alright, so that was it. I just needed to get the remainder for the row and the division results for the column. I guess I don't entirely understand it, but it's math, so it's not a thing I can really understand to begin with. Alright, we need to be setting these in the correct positions now. So instead of doing local position, we're going to do dummy item dot set. Rect dot set. Yeah, alright, so we'll do dummy position X, dummy position Y, item width, row height. And we can get rid of the local position setting. Once it properly reloads. Alright, I think set is setting the values in the rect, not making the thing use the rect. So, how do we actually do that? I think it's anchor position equals dummy position and dummy item dot size delta is item width row height. Ooh, okay. That's helping. But it's not perfect. We want it to be lining up like this, which should be possible since we already have the anchors on the top left. But when we do this, it sets it there. Set size. Is it set size with current anchors? Is that the thing that I need to do? And do I have to use both of them? Alright, horizontal item width. Yeah, okay. Dummy item dot set size with current anchors, horizontal item width, then dummy item dot set size vertical row height. Alright, go ahead and do testing. No, that's... Wait, actually, hold on. This is reporting 0, 0, which is right. Is it because the pivot's up there? Oh, hold on. Maybe it was working this whole time. That one wasn't working, but... Yeah, I think we need to be enforcing the pivot as well. Then my item.pivot equals 0, 1. Okay, okay. Now it's fitting him in. Row height 200. Test thing. Alright. Column count 5. Test thing. Okay, alright, alright. This is working. We do 500. Should have really tall and thin ones. Okay, okay, alright, this is working. How do we want to handle padding between them? Let's do a public float. Let's do vector 2 padding. I guess the easiest way to do this yeah, our easiest, dumbest way to do this is just to take our width and then slice it down. So we'll do float padded width equals item width minus padding dot x, and similar height. Padded height equals row height minus, oh, that's an equals padding dot y. Now, this isn't ideal because it leaves a gap at the end. So what you want to be doing is, here, let me actually just show you. If I do test thing, there we go. We have a gap between everything. We also have a gap over here. So what we want to be doing is basically assigning it so this one is flush with the end, and then putting that gap between only all of these, and then letting the total size fill out for it. So in order to do that, we want to be doing our width calculation again, but with the padding on the padding times column count to get column count minus 1. Well, okay, this is working for now. I can certainly clean this up later. Okay, so let's change this from place item I to right transform item. Alright, so there is a method in Unity called onRecTransformDimensionsChange. And this, I'm not sure if it works in Unity, in VRChat. It probably doesn't. But while we're in editor, it'll let us use it because we got execute always. So we should be able to run our placement thing here, which is just in demo thing. So if we start changing our like content width and stuff like that, that should allow us to fidget with that. So content, let's do, yeah, there we go. So this dynamically resizes for that. It does not resize the height because the height is the thing that we want. Row height here, this needs to be changed though. So on validate, once we run this, we'll do our demo test thing. On validate is a function that in Unity runs whenever any fields change. So like when you open it up in the inspector, when you change any of the values on here. So yeah, there we go. I can slide this value around and we, oop. There seems to be some delay when it's negative, where it just kind of panics. We should definitely keep that from being a negative. So we'll have a header readout here. This will be settings. Instead of having this array here. No, I think I'll keep the array. Just because... while I could swap it to doing a child count calculation, in the end, I want this to be a recycling list. So it's going to have to actually do things that I want it to. We're basically going to be saying, hey, this item is going to go at that index. And it just kind of has to be asserted, okay, yeah, I can place any item at any index. It's like, cool, awesome. We want that. I guess in that case I could rename this from demo thing to apply layout. Item instances, so I'll have to fix that in the inspector. No, I do want that to be settable. But not from here implicitly. Let's do this as well. Oh, right. I need that for now. Item instances. Grab these guys. Pop them in there. Bang. So we now, in order to set up recycling, we need to have context of the container in which things are placed in, as well as the viewport that it is being viewed through. So our scroll view has there we go. Just close all that. Our scroll view has content, which is a rect transform parent for things, and it has viewport. Viewport has a mask on it, meaning that when this content transform is moved out of it, it just gets masked out. So what we care about is knowing the exact offset that content is within viewport. We can know that from the scroll view, but I think we might instead want to handle it via math that we do from viewport and content. So let's give this 2 rect transforms. We no longer want to be setting that through on validate. So we're gonna have 2 recs. This one will be content rect. Or this will actually be content transform. Hold on. Content transform. And then we'll have viewport transform. Alright, so... Oh, actually, now that we have that, we don't want to be getting child count from this object anywhere. We want to be getting child count from content viewport. I guess we're not actually doing that anywhere anymore. Nope, right here, container child count. Content transform child count. That's it. I want the same check here, or before apply layout. Because otherwise we were getting some null errors while they were not assigned. Also want to move this to the scroll view object itself. So we have our list here. Got our viewport and our content. Just do some verification that this all still works. Lovely. Good stuff. Yeah, I do want to fix that end padding, but it is and eventually. Actually, can I do min on vector 2s? I don't think you can, but let me double check. Oh, you can. Okay. Cool, cool. I actually did not think that was the case. I wonder if it didn't used to be the case. Easily could have. Yeah, it seems to be working nicely. Okay. So, how do we want to handle this? I would like this to be reusable and not just a one-off thing for this project, but I think I might just make it a one-off thing for this project in order to get all the bindings and stuff like working correctly. Because basically these need to represent data, and it's really easy in Udon to represent a single type of data and not any nebulous kind of data. Excuse me. So, item field, select, bonk. What does item field have on it? Populates field item data. Yeah, okay. As an on-click callback. I think we'll just do that, yeah. So item field has item data. Item data is stored where? Because if we're having a list that uses this, populate data is coming from here. Populates it from a data list. Yeah, okay. So grid list, instead of my values there, this would be a data list. Item data list, or just item list. Yeah, that works. So we'll have a we'll have all of our layout stuff down here and the actual binding stuff up here. maybe I could actually have this be a abstract class for something. Whatever. Not a concern at the moment. We'll have a public void find list. Data list. Item list equals list. Item instances will also be changed to a data list since it needs to work at runtime. However, this does mean that we will no longer be able to work with it at in edit mode. Yeah, I think I'll make two versions of this. One that makes it easier to test and one that's the actual one that we want. Item grid list. This will be our actual data item stuff. So this will inherit from grid list. Out there. Okay. And then we'll have example grid list. Example grid list. We'll have a second one here. Alright. We need to actually make everything compile first before I can add components. And then this one will be item grid list. Things we don't need from this. Simple grid list. Go right there. That's what's it called? And inherit. Okay, so we'll have a public int item count. Should be a get. So in here, we'll do item count. Virtual. Item count will be item instances dot length, not as parallel. What? Like, there we go. No, we don't need my values anywhere. You can just inherit from apply layout. Item grid list. Oh, right. Okay. So this is the real fancy one. So let's give this the purple. Yeah, you're purple now. And the examples over here. You get your viewport, you get your content. I don't think this needs a prefab field for the example grid list. I don't even think it needs item instances. I think it just wants to, we should just use its children. Oh, no, I want content, protected, there we go. We want, content transform, dot child count, that's it. And yeah, just cast that as a rect transform. Okay. That seems to be all up and running again. Perfect. I'll rename this to base grid list. And rename this one to grid list, since it's going to be the de facto grid layout thing for it. Hmm. One thing that Rider does for some reason that I find kind of obnoxious is just that the header attribute will, like, when the auto format happens, it'll make the line that the header, the attribute, like, when something has an attribute on it like this, it'll make the next thing force a new line underneath it. And I keep trying to do it for, like, categories for headers. Like, that's the part where it really keeps coming back to me. Interesting that those don't get their names cleaned up. Or at least they don't have capitalization enforced in it. Okay. I'm liking this. All right. Now, we want to get the ones that are visible. That's going to be a little annoying. So we'll do a protected vector to get index position. Index and place position. I guess I can just do return that. To position equals get index position index. There we go. And protected vector 2 get item size. This shouldn't change at any point between the index of the item. So I'm gonna do this. And return new added width, added height. Okay. So that'll make this more reusable for when we're manually placing things. make sure everything still works. Seems to be good. These references are not readout, so they will go up in settings. Why is settings not capitalized? So over here in this one, our item grid list. Actually, let's go ahead and excuse me. Does Unity have an on hierarchy change that we can take advantage of in a way that doesn't make the Udon compiler angry at us? Unity on child account change. On transformed children changed. Okay. Is this real? So on rect transformed dimensions changed and on transformed children changed. Okay. I feel like I should do this check-in by layout rather than there. Yeah, that should also happen in apply layout. Oops. All right. These don't need to be virtual. These can just go back to being private. Alright, so let's disable this mask. And instead, let's go ahead and recolor the ones that are meant to be visible. So that will give us an idea of how well this is working. Just gonna close out the ones that aren't really using. Okay, so I think place item should return a bool as to whether or not that position is visible. So I'll just do return true for now. And next position. So let's figure that out. So this is a position within this thing, and we need to see if it is within two overlapping rects. Which is going to be a little annoying. Or it's going to be really simple. So actually, yeah. So we have, to look at it here in Unity, we have our content rect, which they are a transform under, and then we have a viewport rect. So I guess we could do just we could transform the position from its local to the other. I have a bool up here. Bool is visible. False. Is visible. Return that. It's looking like I could do some bounds detection rather than some width and height adjusted math. So if we're looking at item that get local corners, get world corners, get the corners of the calculated rectangle in world space. So I think we can take that. Okay. So that needs a vector 3 array. Item corners equals new. And that's, well, 4 corners, so 4 there. Item corners. I've never used this before, so let's quick make sure that Udon actually accepts that. I wish there was a way that I could determine in my IDE, like in Rider, whether or not something was exposed. Alright, so that's exposed. Cool. Yeah. So it seems people recommend doing a bounds contains check. Oh no, okay, so they're building a bounds out of the array of points of the corners, and then they check whether or not those two bounds encapsulate each other. Okay, yeah, fair. That's makes sense to me. Okay. So we'll do a vector 3 array for viewport corners. Similarly, it'll be 4 there. I'll make these static ones eventually. Not static, but the reusable ones that aren't just created each time for this. Viewport transform, get world corners, viewport corners. So we'll make a bounds out of items, item bounds. So for each item corners, corner, item bounds. Oh, I can't spell. Item bounds dot encapsulate. So we're just gonna make it force fit that corner. Then we'll do bounds viewport bounds. Oh wait, if I create a new bounds without giving it a position and size, does it automatically assume one? In that case, I do need to actually care about that. So that's a little annoying because the center of our thing isn't its root. Can we just get rectTransform.center? Is that a thing? Okay, yeah, we can get the rect center. Oh, but this is a world space thing. Or is this not how that works? Wait, hold on. Unity bounds. Constructor. Bounds constructor. Center. Location of the origin of the bounds. And the dimension of the bounds. So if we give it a size of 0 and just its starting position, we know that should work. Actually, wait, we already have one of the positions. We already have the one of the corners, and that's in world space. Okay, yeah, we'll just do that. Item corners 0 and vector 3 dot 0 as well. And then we'll duplicate that for viewport. And then is visible equals item bounds not encapsulate contains as a vector 3 point. Which one of these is the intersects, that takes the bounds. All right, viewport bounds. Okay. I can break that off of place item. That can be its own thing. So protected bool is index visible. Is transform visible. Okay. Index. Right, transform item, sure. I'll return that intersects right there. This can go back to being a void and just handle the placement. So we can do a rect transform child equals this. There we go. Then place item child will do child dot set dot game object dot set active is transform visible child. File here. All right. So now we have a lot of things here. And we're already automatically deactivating some of them. Okay, cool. You see we have this green line down here. That's where the actual viewport is. So if I enable this mask, it behaves as usual. But right now, if I go to, I guess we'll have to go to the scroll bar. There we go. Adjust this value. Okay, let's go back to this and adjust. Oh. Okay, so that is working. It just doesn't have a listen for the scroll view moving, which is fine. We can rig that up to work at runtime pretty easily. Oh, crap. I'm realizing now I just built a system for detecting whether or not rect transforms are visible. Whereas what I actually need to do is detect whether or not a position is visible. And... crap. And then put a rect transform there if needed. Okay. Well, useful, but not needed to be right now. But we're definitely getting there. It's coming along quite well, and I'm sure there will be plenty of progress before next week. But yeah, looking at the time here, I think this is probably where I'm gonna call it, because we're hitting 6 here, and honestly, I'm kind of want some food. So we'll see you around.